Okay, here's our next project. We're going to start this Monday. And for this project, it's going to be a mechanical. Originally, I thought we'd do a survey project, but I'm going to save that one for a little bit later on. This is kind of a fun little project that deals with manipulation and modification of objects. It's going to be another mechanical drawing. And let's imagine, for instance, a engineer comes to you and gives you a sketch of a gear tooth and asks you to build a 60 tooth gear with this particular tooth, and that's what you have to figure out. And first thing we're going to do is draw the gear. So we're going to open up a seed file, same one we used before, our seed letter mechanical 1. We'll just double click on that and open it up. Okay, so here's our file. We'll go to our file and save as. We're going to call this one, put it in our projects folder. We'll call it project 6. CJ, hit save. So now we've got project 6 CJ. I'll just do a fit view, make sure nothing's there. We're going to go to settings, design file, working units, make sure we're working in inches. To 2 decimal places should be okay for this one. Actually, let's go to 3 decimal places just in case, and we'll say okay. We'll go check our sheet file, and that still looks okay. We'll be using that. Go back to default. We'll create a new model here. Go to models. We're going to go to new. This one's going to be a design. Make sure it says design at the top, 2D. And we're going to call this one gear project 60 tooth. There we go. Full size, and just say OK. So the first thing we need to do is draw the gear, and let's check our levels. We want to be in our primary level. Actually, if you want to, we can go to our level manager and let's just rename primary, and we're just going to call it gear 60 just to be official, and that's going to be our active level. I'm going to draw in color 0, and I'm using line weight 2 just so it shows up a little bit better. The width of the gear at the base is going to be 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to take my smart line, hit my space bar, so oops, I'm still in isometric. Take isometric off. That was from our last, and we're just going to key in 0.5. This is the width at the base of the gear. The height of the gear is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So we'll just start here in the middle, and I have to be honest, I'm making this stuff up as we go. So we're going to say 0.75. The gear has a little flat piece on the top that is 0.1 inch, or excuse me, 0.05. There we go. So it's got a little flat portion. I'm only drawing half the tooth, and then we'll mirror it to the other side. And then the tooth is going to go over, let's say 0.1, and down 0.5. Not sure if this is a real good tooth or not. And actually, I don't really like the looks of that one. I'm going to come back up here. We're going to go over 0.1. That looks a little better. We'll come down. We'll go over 0.1 again, and down 0.5. I'm still not happy with it. We'll get it right here in a second. 0.05. And I guess where I had it the first time. So we're going to go over 0.1 down 0.5, and then we'll kick it in here. Just let it connect to the bottom. Let me do it one more time for you. 0.05. We're going to go over 0.1 down 0.5, and then just let it connect to the bottom. So that's actually half the tooth. To my granddaughter, if you can hear that in the background. I delete the center line here, and I'm just going to select this portion of the tooth, and we'll actually, before we mirror that, let's put some curves on this. We're going to put a little fillet up here at the top, so we're going to use our tool for fillets, which is our 7Q circular fillet. We're going to use 0.025, and we want to say truncate both. What this is going to do is put a little curve on this line, and see how that just rounds that edge off. And then we'll use 0.1 from here to here. That'll just smooth this half a tooth up. We're going to take this entire piece now and mirror it on a vertical axis. Make sure that you say make copy, and just bring it over here. So there's one tooth. Now the purpose of this is to make a 60 tooth gear from this particular tooth. So let's start down here with finding the center point of our gear. So I'm just going to draw a little circle, and I'll start right from the center point. I'll just do a middle mouse button. Oops. Hit O, and we'll come down to about this location. Doesn't really matter, but we're just going to make a circle so we have a point to snap to. Now a 60 tooth gear, we've got 360 degrees. So if we take 360 divided by 60, that's going to tell us what the angle is that we need to put in here to make this tooth fit so it'll work. So we know what size the tooth is. What we need to do is figure out what the diameter is now to make this go 360. I'm going to just use my online calculator here, go to my Place Smart Line, and I'm just going to draw a line arbitrarily and type in 360, hit the divide sign, the slash, by 60 is 6 degrees. Okay? So if that's the case, then I need to draw a line that is 3 degrees off center. I know, this sounds strange. So I'm going to hit my space bar while I'm in AccuDraw here to go into distance angle. I'm going to start here at the center and just hit my tab key to go down into the angle portion. I'm just going to type in 3 degrees. Oops. That's off the side. Okay, that'll work. 3 degrees. Do another one here at negative 3 degrees. Okay. I'm going to take both of these and select both of these lines holding down the control key, and I'm going to rotate this to a vertical position using the 3-4 tool, and we're going to use our method is 2 points. We don't need to make a copy. Just find this center point, bring this out, and you'll notice as you bring this up, it'll lock at that 90-degree angle. Okay? So far so good. I actually only need the one side, and I'm going to probably need to extend these lines out a little further. And that's probably good. We'll do a fit view. So you can see my tooth now is down here, center of my hole is here, and what I need to do is bring this straight up until it touches this angle. So I'm going to select the entire tooth using my selection tool. I'm going to take my move tool, grab this right by the left endpoint, and go straight up, hit the enter key to lock the axis, and I'm going to hit N for nearest. You notice when I did that, it jumped right up here to this point, and I'm just going to left click there. When I zoom in, you'll see that that's touching that angle. Didn't quite touch it on this side. We'll take that one right off. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. We'll take the right side off. I may have drawn that a little bit off, maybe. Let's just see how it lines up if we try to work this. We select the tool again, or select the tooth, I'm sorry, and we're going to take our tool for manipulation under the 3-6 tool, which is an array tool. We haven't really done much with this. And we want to do a polar array. We're going to do 60 items. The delta angle is going to be 6 degrees. And we're going to rotate the items as we go. Now we've already selected it. We just need to come down here to the center point of the circle that we created originally and left click. And left click again. Let's see. We're off just a little bit here. So I'm not sure why. We'll take it out. Put that angle back in there. Let's measure this distance. I can use the measure tool. It's 0.5 inches. So again, let's check our, it was 360, whoops, but XY, 360 divided by 60 is 6 degrees. Okay. So I'm going to put this out here, hit the space bar, tab, 3 degrees, and we'll just, rather than do a -3, I'm just going to mirror that on a horizontal axis. Rotate it back up. It looks like it's right on the money. And we're going to extend this line up. It looks like it's going to do the same thing again. The only other thing is maybe I'm not dead center on this thing, so let's just check that. Maybe I didn't, I might have been snapped off to the side here. Okay. So what I did is I just locked the axis while I'm doing a center. Bear with me. We'll make it easier and just trim this off. So if I draw a line right from here, yeah, see, that's just a little bit crooked. just that much. So I'm going to grab this, hold down the control key and deselect these. Or actually I'll select that one. Pull it to the left. Just check it. You can see I didn't have my, hit the enter key. That's better. For some reason that wasn't quite centered on there, so I think if I take these, I apologize for sounding and acting confused, but I was for a second. So let's take this now and we'll move this. If I move it straight down and hit N, it'll find, maybe that was my problem. It's easier when you move it down and try to work your way up. There we go. So again, we'll hit the enter key and hit N. Let it find the first point. As it crosses, we'll lock it in place. Now if we zoom into this side, it's right on, and if we zoom into this side, it should be right on too. So now we're going to select this tooth again. Go to our array tool, which is again under 3, 6. I find the center point of the circle. It's still set to polar. 60 items at 6 degrees. Rotate the items. Left click at the center of the circle. Left click again. And there's our tooth. We do a fit view now. And I just want to zoom in and make sure, see how these ends are just touching the way they should be. So we'll take out this 5-degree angle now because we don't need this. We're going to put the center hole, which is going to be a 3/4 inch hole in the center for the shaft. Let's make it a 1-inch hole. So I just find this center point and come out 0.5 for the radius. Oops, I'm in angle mode here. There we go. 0.5. We're going to put a keyway in here so I can delete this inner piece. The keyway is going to be straight up on this drawing, and it's going to be an 1/8 inch keyway. So what I'm going to do is just draw a rectangular box that's going to be 0.125 by, let's say, 0.2. We're going to move that right over onto the top of the circle. Now if we zoom into that, you can see that it's kind of stuck out. We're going to move it in 0.02. And what we want to do to create this slot is a Boolean union of these two shapes. If you go to 6, 4, create region, and we find the union tool, which is the second one over, just left click on the circle, left click on the rectangular shape, and left click again, and it'll create that keyway for us. Okay, we want to put this on the drawing, so let's measure the width of this thing just to see what we're looking at for a possible scale. It's about 11 inches wide, so I would suspect on this that we're going to want to do a half scale for the entire wheel. So we'll go to our sheet file, and we're going to reference in our title block, or excuse me, reference in our gear tooth. So we go to our reference tool, We don't need that default drawing on there. We're going to attach project 6. We want our gear project 60 tooth. Standard view will be top. We want half size, so it'll be, I don't know if they show a half size on here, 1 to 2.5. No, we'll go custom, 1 to 2. Hit OK, bring it over onto the screen right here in the middle, and left click. And we'll kind of move it up a ways. Now the other thing we want to do here is I want to do a blow up of one of the teeth. So we're going to actually attach this a second time at a different scale. So we go attach, same project, gear tooth, top view. This time we're going to do, see the detail scale was 6 inches equals 1 foot, which is a half scale. This time we're going to go, this is going to be 1 and this will be 2, so it's going to be 2 times the size. Hit OK and just come out here and left click. You can see we got this huge drawing now on the title block. Not to fear. What I want you to do is take your fence tool and just put a fence around one tooth, like up here on the top. And then you're going to click this, or click on your left mouse button on clip reference. Just left click. The reference file highlights and just left click again. So what it does is gives us a 2 times the actual size of one tooth. We're going to move this down onto the sheet now. We'll put it right here. So we'll have a blow up of one tooth that's going to be on the side of the drawing. We can click the fence off, close this out, and do a fit view. So let's start by putting some dimensions on here of the actual tooth. And I'm going to copy some of these notes around. We'll push this one up here. And we'll move this one down. And we're going to edit this one. There we go. Use the A to B. Custom 60 tooth gear plate. Sounds official. Excuse me. This one is going to be gear tooth detail. Now, under the scale down here we had 1/8, so we're going to have to change this now. So we're going to say scale, take out the 1/8. We've got 2 different scales on here, so we're going to say as noted. And we're going to take that little note and we're going to put it right up underneath this one, copying the note and one up here. So this one we edit. Scale is going to be half. And this one is going to be 2x, 2 times the actual scale. So we don't actually have an object on here. Now let's go over here and we'll work on dimensioning this little piece. We'll go to our dimension tool. It's already set to mechanical. We can dimension this little radius. And we'll dimension probably from just the flat portion on the top was going to be 0.06 inches. We can dimension from the top of the tooth to the bottom of the tooth at 0.75 inches. We can dimension, we got a little radius in here that we can dimension with our, guess I want that. Alright. Shoot. almost makes it. There we go. So we get a little radius there. And we're going to put the angles on these things. So if we dimension our angles, what I need to do is just draw, and I've got a dimension level here, so we're just going to draw a straight line down here in red, and we'll draw a straight line up here in red. Maybe, well, now we'll see if that works. Maybe try it over here. Might give us more room. So now we dimension the angular dimension. We want angle between two lines, so it's going to be between this line and this line, 11.3099 inches. That's accurate. And 21.8014. And that should pretty much do it. They got the angles, they should be able to build a tooth. So let's move over here, and what we want to do is kind of get our circular dimensions now, our diameters. So from this center point, we'll dimension from the center point here to the top of the tooth, 5.52 inches. Center point to the bottom of the tooth, 4.77 inches. If we want to dimension from top of this tooth to the bottom of this tooth, should be 2 times 11.04. We're going to dimension our keyway, 0.18. You notice how the 0.18 is kind of in the bottom, and it crosses this dimension line. What we do is take our modification tool and just left click on the text portion and just move it up to the top. We'll put the width on here now. Same thing, pull it straight up, and I can go up above the number. So we don't want these things to cross if we can help it. And again, the 0.13 is kind of crossing that 4.77, so I'm going to take the time, grab that text, see if I can pull it over to this side. You can see my leaders are quite long here. If I go to my dimension tool, look at my mechanical, and I can see that my geometry as my extension lines at 0.5. Let's change that to 0.1, and we'll change to 0.5 on our arrowheads and hit save. Yes to all. Let's see what that does. Still got a little too much here, so let's go back and take another look. Where's our extension lines? Enable. Oh, there it is, minimum leader. Change that to, let's say, 1.5 and hit save. Yes to all. And see how that shortens these leaders up so they're not as overlapping as they were previously. And that took care of all of our dimensions. You'd probably end up putting some notes out here on what kind of steel it was. Let's go over here to our drawing file. We're going to rename our text on this one to, this is exercise 6, and we'll call it the array exercise. We'll just call it gear exercise 60 tooth. Is that going to fit? Oh, just barely. change the date. It's going to be 10 into a different month. I'll say 10/4. I don't really know what day it is. Scale is noted. Looks good. We do a Control P to print it. I did put a video up that talks about creating the pen table and also the printer file. So you can see it already has my PDF, my printer file already set. I'll get through that again, but we say File, select Bentley driver. We go to the utility directory that you have, and you find PDF myprinter.plt, or however you've got it set up with your initials. And then we're going to go to pen table, attach, go to the same directory for utilities. I'm just going to take a quick look, see if everything looks okay on this tool. Looks good. We'll close this out, and we're going to hit, you can see down here it's 1 inch equals 1 inch, so it's going to be a full scale print, but you would be scaling these down on the actual paper print itself. We hit print. We're going to put this in our same directory, my documents, put it in your not your projects folder, your homework folder, and it's going to be, pull this up, we call it assignment 6, C. Junkins. Put your name in there, not mine. Hit save. It's going to take it a minute. There's no raster image, so this should be a fairly small file. We'll close this out. We'll minimize MicroStation before we actually get out of it, and we'll go take a look at that Adobe Acrobat file. File open. Always check your drawing before you send it to me. Assignment 6. And don't be afraid to zoom in on it. Take a look inside here. See your line weight is good. Kind of zoom around, take a look. Everything looks pretty good. The text, let's take a look over here. Tooth, you can see the heavier line weight here, the smaller line weight for the dimensions, so that's going to show up well on the paper. I think the only thing I might have done a little bit differently is I may have put a break line on the end of these. So if I go back to my project, go to my gearbox tooth, actually I want to do this on my actual sheet file, because I just take like a green color with a smart line, and you can't really snap to this because there's no snap point because of the fence. All you do is just kind of put a little jagged line that indicates a break here. And you can kind of, I want to make sure it's kind of attached to the end of the, as close as I can get it. Use the move tool and just place it right there. We want to put it on the other side, so we just do a mirror on the vertical axis to that point. So you get kind of a break line here that indicates that it's just part of the drawing. You could put a circle out here on this to indicate which tooth you're actually looking at here, but I think it's pretty obvious that we're just looking at a typical tooth, and this would be a 60 tooth, so we don't need to know what the diameter is. We let the tooth dimension determine what the diameter is by how many we can fit in a 360-degree circle. So the tooth, it actually determines what the diameter of that gear is going to be. He may come back and say, give me a 40-tooth gear. Once you have the tooth drawn itself, then you can make any size gear you want with as many gear teeth in it as need be. So that's pretty much the exercise. It's pretty simple, but I think it gives us a good example of how to use the array tool to create a fairly complex drawing. Okay, that's good. Thank you.